This is The Sport, an open and honest conversation about life and love and everything in between with me, Estiel Yamumo. Coming up on The Sport.
9 out of 10 times, men are responsible for where the intimacy of any relationship goes to. And I was aware of that and how I was in a very ripe position to abuse that kind of power.
The second time you get back together, it won't be the same as the first. I used to really doubt him. If he gets a phone call, I would really struggle.
The side eye.
To get a glimpse who is calling.
Yeah.
When he's texting on his phone, I would really try
to see who is he texting. So more of trust issues kick in.
And the things I did.
What are some of the things you did? Looking back, ulikuwa na all these telltale signs, but what kept you still going in the relationship?
I can say because he was my first, I was trying to cover up for him. And I would say, no, he cannot do this. And because I had told you, the first thing we did in our relationship was going to church. So I thought, no, this man cannot. And I used to tell myself, no, it cannot happen. No, it cannot happen.
You are in denial, yani kabisa.
Yeah, in denial.
Looking back, Enigma, at any point did you feel like kulikuwa na telltale signs but you chose to ignore?
Honestly, no. Honestly. I think when I look back, I'm like, probably I didn't look critically at her from an angle of, is cheating a possibility? You know? That's particularly why that one action struck me so badly. Because I was levitating from a point where it's a complete impossibility, at least for us, to a point where it's actually happening. Like the spectrum in the middle where you're like, I think my girlfriend is cheating. You know, I feel like that thought alone prepares you for the possibility of
it could happen.
And then it's like you've started healing before it actually happens. But for me, there never was that. Our communication was A1, you know. Mm-hmm. Our love language was A1. Like, I got her and she got me.
You got each other.
Yeah, and so when it happened, I was like, I could get you the way I get you and you get me the way you get me, and still we do this.
So, I mean, when, you know, like, wakati confront and she actually made a half confession, for you, you knew this is over. Ama kulikuwa na room of we can talk this out?
There was room. I was just adamant because I felt like it's her responsibility, not mine.
Yeah, okay.
Like it was up to her to come to me and sort that issue out. But she didn't.
Okay.
And so the relationship died a very natural death.
So, D, you draw the curtains and voila, right in front of your eyes. Alafu, what happened?
I think I was just so patient with him because I didn't leave immediately. I waited for him to open the door. And I was patiently waiting. He got dressed and he came. Okay, not really fully dressed, but he had a shirt on, bare chest. And the lady was now covering herself with the bed sheet. And he opens the door. I'm there crying. And I just get inside the house and I sit on the bed. They continue crying.
Mm-hmm.
So he leaves. He goes to the shop. And I'm left there with the lady. And I asked the lady. I was not calling her with the name because from the pictures I had seen on Facebook,
this was her.
One.
Yeah.
So I asked her, for how long have you been dating? She tells me since they were in high school, around Form 3. And right by then we were in second year. I had dated him through part of first year. Now we were in second year. Meaning I was, can I say a side chick or a what? Then she says also that when this guy usually visits her,
mm-hmm.
there's a way that he behaves. And when the lady asks, why do you have a certain lady with such conversations?
Mm-hmm.
He usually just says, huyu tuliachana kitambo. She's the one pestering me. So like I was the one, just like
He was telling you the
yeah.
same thing.
So you said the same
Was the
thing.
lady in the same campus as you?
No, in another campus. So when he told me he was going for a party, he was going to pick up this lady.
Wow.
Meaning, the reason why he was reluctant to let me have the key was because where were they going to spend the night if I was there?
Yeah.
So I was just there crying. When he came back from the shop, and shamelessly he had milk, and like he wanted to prepare as breakfast.
The audacity.
Wow. Okay.
And he's there cooking. He's just there cooking. I'm crying. The other lady's just silent. He cooked. He offered us tea, which I didn't take. And then I started like questioning him and her at the same time. He wasn't talking. He was just quiet. And I left. I spoke to my friends, and what they kept telling me was just leave him, leave so and so, you'll get another man, just leave him. But I was so attached to him. The next day, because I had some of his clothes in my house, I wanted to give them back. When I went there, because he had told me while I was leaving the previous day that he's going to tell the lady to leave. When I came back, the lady was washing.
Oh my
The lady
goodness.
was washing. And some of my clothes that were in his house, alikuwa amezificha. When I go to the house to get my things, now I just want to leave. My clothes that were in his house, alikuwa amezificha uko chini. I just have to look for them. And for so long, I kept crying. I would not eat, but I never got hungry. I would cry like the whole day. I would miss classes. Because of him. And he would come to the house to plead, please take me back. I didn't want to forgive immediately, but something kept telling me if he has come to apologize, then it means he's ready to change. And I can say after about 2 weeks or 3 weeks
Of pleading.
I forgave, and we got back together. But the second time you get back together, or the next time you get back together, it won't be the same as the first.
Yeah.
I used to really doubt him. If he gets a phone call, I would really struggle
The side eye.
to get a glimpse who is calling.
Yeah.
When he's texting on his phone, I would really try
To see who's
see
he
who
texting.
is he texting.
So more of trust issues kick in.
And the things I did.
What are some of the things you did?
Like, we were not staying together. So when I would come to his house, the first thing that I would do is check the dustbin for anything and everything.
Any incriminating evidence?
Evidence.
For instance, condoms maybe?
Yes. And I wanted them to be used condoms, not just condoms. I would check the dustbin. I would check the sink if there were extra plates. How many people had supper here? How many ate? I would count the plates, literally counting. I would know that this one was for breakfast, this one was for supper. And why is there an extra plate having ugali? It means there were 2 people here. And
Yeah.
it would really make me mad. I would check beneath the bed for anything, maybe a lady's underwear or the earrings, anything.
That's a lot of work.
And because I have relatives around Nairobi, and during weekends at times I would visit. So before I left, I would count the condoms in his suitcase, how many are there. And when I come back, I'd make sure I count how many are remaining, so that I can know how many were used.
Wow.
And sad enough, at times I would get evidence.
So what will you do when you get the evidence?
Confront him, but he wouldn't.
Deny.
He would deny. He wouldn't accept. And he used to give excuses like, we are boys, we are men, so I can give my house to somebody else. It does not necessarily mean I was the one who used those condoms. It's my friend.
Wow. So, for you, Enigma,
Yes.
like that transition, like to one point you have a girlfriend, the next moment you're single. What emotions were you going through?
I was going through a lot of hurt. Fortunately for me, I had just finished school. So I went back to my father's house. Yeah, and there was a semblance of a support system. I didn't know why I was gloomy, but then they were like, maybe ni stress ya kumaliza shule na hujapata job. It was awkward, and I remember at that time I had during that point in time I decided to go celibate. I decided to not date for like a year. Then a year became 2, then it became 3, then it became 4, then it became 5.
5 years of not dating and 5 years of being celibate.
Yeah.
Commendable. It takes a lot for a man to actually come out and say, you know what, I'm celibate. Initially it was because of heartbreak, but after that was because...
The beauty about the relationship I had just gotten out of was the intimacy in it was unlike any I had experienced before. And so I felt like straight out of that relationship, I'd be looking for my previous partner in other people. And I felt like, particularly for most guys won't admit it, but it's like a hunger. It is. And 9 out of 10 times men are responsible for where the intimacy of any relationship goes to. And I was aware of that and how I was in a very ripe position to abuse that kind of power. I just asked myself a question. I was like, kwani nikikaa bila nitakufa? That's literally what I asked myself. I was like, let's see, let me die if people who don't die. Let's see.
Let me be the first to die.
Let me be the first and see. And it helped that I was with my parents a lot of that time. So even if you meet a lady who you find yourself interested in
and attracted
to, you can't bring them to your father's house.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that dynamic, me remaining celibate at that point in time, had a lot to do with the, I'd say, lack of a conducive environment. I'm not naive to the fact that helped. Yeah, but over and above, I feel like if I really had the nerve to go through with a lot of things, I'm sure I'd have found a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
D. So over and over and over, sometimes when I get evidence, sometimes there's that kind of intuition telling you, manze, kuna mtu alikuwa hapa, in as much as there's no evidence, but so at what point did the relationship come to an end?
So at times, apart from checking the plates, checking the dustbin, I would literally smell the pillows and the bed sheets for a lady's perfume. And after we got back together, that happened. Then there was a time that I was just from the library, passed over to his house, and he wasn't there. So I just went to my place and I decided, I'll come the next time. So I didn't have credit. I wrote a note and pushed it through the door. I expected him to reply or call by the time I got to the house, but he didn't, which made me feel like maybe there's something wrong. Just that same night. So I came back to his place that night, and getting there, it wasn't even so late. It was around 9 p.m. There was a booming music from the house, and this time the window was closed, yes, but I kept knocking. Then through the door pocket, I tried to peep in, and I could see from the little space, I could see some clothes on the floor, and it made me then knock louder. And the moment I just got tired and decided, maybe he's not around, maybe the room here, just like he usually says, maybe amepeana room to his maybe the male friend. So the moment I wanted to leave, a neighbor who was a woman came rushing ananifuata nyuma, and she told me, don't leave, because the man you're knocking for is inside the house with another lady. Just wait at the door until the moment he'll get out. So it took me so much time just there at the door. I'm getting cold. He's not opening. So I think maybe after he realized that no one is knocking anymore, he opened the door. And he's opening so slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And to his surprise,
You were
I
there.
was there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was having a short on. There was a lady on the bed, and not the previous lady I had gotten. It was a different lady. And so I got in, and at times my friends used to ask me, why didn't you even hit him? Mbona hukumgonga? Why were you not so angry enough to hit? I don't know why I never even hit him. I just used to, anytime it happens, I just get in, cry first, then start questioning him. So when I questioned this lady, she told me they had just started dating there like 2 weeks ago, and the guy told him that he had broken up with the girlfriend. And I asked, so for how long have you been seeing each other or having sex? And she told me it's been like this was the second or the third time. And she told me that night they were having unprotected sex. And that's the moment it just hit me that this guy is just so careless with his life, because he's sleeping with several ladies. I don't know if there were others, but I caught him red-handed with 2. What if there were others? So he just decided to leave. It wasn't so easy because I kept crying. There were so many things in my house that belonged to him, so many pictures. And funny enough, after we had gotten back, he introduced me to some of his family members, like the sisters. So it was hard even deleting the contacts.
Yeah.
And it was hard because I even had crammed his phone number. So I would delete his phone number. Then again, I ask, hey, what is he doing? I re-enter the phone number, save it, start checking what is he doing, the status, the DP. It was hard, but I don't know what happened. With time, from too much writing of my experience, talking with friends, I got over it.
They say time's a healer. But then how did your experiences shape your subsequent relationships?
Unlike him, he says the more he gets into relationships, the harder it gets for him. But for me, it's the opposite. I think the first one toughened me and opened my eyes, whereby I usually find that my next heartbreak is lighter than my first.
Your first. I think I would say the same as well. So right now, when you think about getting into a relationship,
Yeah.
you say you're not naive, you're very, very present. So has that changed you in how you look at relationships, especially Naika Nairobi too?
Yeah. I'd say,
Nairobi.
yeah, Nairobi deserves a thesis done on it. Wow. I'd say for me, how I look at relationships has changed significantly. I don't meet potential people with the aim of pleasing. I find myself always looking at the realities of why we may or may not be compatible. It's a painful process because you meet people who you are really attracted to. But then when you weigh certain things after meeting for a number of times, even before you
Make the move.
You're like, yeah, but I can see this and that one as well. I'm like, okay. It's a very sobering experience because most people I've met with, particularly guys my age, they meet new people with the guise of, I noticed this ka red flag, I noticed this ka thing, but then I'm sure, see, hakuna mtu perfect, we can, yeah. When you know very well it's a deadline, like that particular thing or set of things, for you, it just won't work. And so it's helped me a lot, particularly the amount of time I took out, because it was it was a learning curve. You get to see people do mistakes. You get to see people close to you do more mistakes. You get to be part of solving some of those mistakes. And you're like, yeah, see, I don't want to be here. This is definitely somewhere I don't want to be. It's an empowering process, I'd say.
Empowering indeed. Oh my goodness. I mean, heartbreak is one of those things. Yani too. I had put out the question on our social media pages, and there's someone who said, this is D also, alisema huku Afrika hakuna heartbreak, list inakuanga refu sana. And there was someone else who said, gave so much, not even money, just time and energy, and got so little in return. Long story, she got knocked up by someone else. Heartbreak is the worst. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. Thought heartbreak was something I saw on TV, but in reality it hurts like hell. But anasema over time it has taken him about like 2 years to get over. Looking at it right now, love is something that we cannot live without. So looking at the kind of relationship that you are looking forward to having, what will it contain, what will it entail, and maybe what are some of the things that maybe get into a new relationship, you'll be like, if this happens, I'm out.
First of all, I don't put up with cheats, whether it's verbal or
any form of
cheating. It's better you tell me the truth, and it hurts me than telling me lies. Then later on, it will even hurt more. And also, I think from my heartbreak, there are things that I usually look out for in a relationship. There are those things that used to excite me back then, but they no longer do, because I find them, maybe what if he's this way, then he'll change like so and so. And one thing that I vowed never to do is to date a politician. Whether it's any national, no, never to date a politician.
Anyone affiliated to politics is a no.
Because I had my worst experience.
Wow. As for you?
That's a layered question. I don't even know if you are ready for the answer.
We are ready.
So, growing older, I'm learning that, one, the choice of woman I choose, her background depends less on what I want and more on what I want for my children and for the support system that I am part of, because they will also have to accept her as well. And so I'm having to question things like tribe, questioning things like upbringing, social background. I'm questioning so many things, yeah. And it's kitambo I was naive about it. It's like ukipenda msesi umempenda, kwani kuna nini, But then right now you realize that how somebody is socialized. It's usually a tribe, but it's not even about the tribe per se. It's just how people in that tribe are socialized. So that socialization, if you take a step back and you look at somebody and you see it informs a great deal, because you get into a relationship and it's good for the 2 or 3 years you're dating and courting until you have to make it official, And then you go to the lady's place and then you're told, us, we don't do things like this. And then they come to your side and then they're told, us, we don't do things like this. And so it's people don't want to think about it, but it's something worth acknowledging, like from point zero. And so I'd say for me, I'm settling on one thing, like all this politics surrounding relationships and commitment notwithstanding. I'm honestly just looking for peace of mind. Yeah.
It's that basic.
Yeah, it's that basic. Like hizi vitu zote you can mix and match, but then relationships are choices, and I'd like to be with somebody who understands that I am a choice she made as well as the fact that she is a choice I have made, and that making that choice does not mean that she will not meet people or I will not meet people who are better than me. It's just that this is the choice you made, and you have to choose it every day. Yeah, and so there's an amount of work that needs to go into that kind of setting, and it's a difficult thing for most people my age, our age, to comprehend. It's very difficult. In fact, most of the women I meet are like 5 years older than me, because when we have conversations, we gel on a level. But then for me, again, because of the political reasons I've raised,
So will you actually date someone who's older than you?
I would.
Would you marry someone who's older than you?
I would.
Would you date someone who's younger than you?
No.
It depends. It depends. Ngumu kidogo. I like the fact that umesema relationships, ile kitu yenye you hold relationships together is making that decision every single day, that this is the decision you've made and you have to live by it. What is the one song that speaks to you about love?
There's this song. I really want to tell you how my day went. I really want to tell you how my day went. Really want to spend the weekend. I for sure you this thing I'm feeling. Oh yeah. But I don't really know you that well.
There's a song I learned about around the first time I had yeah, and funny enough, it's a Christian song.
Okay.
And it's sung by a group called The Firemen. It's an a cappella group. The song is called Higher Perspective.
You make me perfect, Lord. You put your soul in me, and you help me to see from a higher perspective. You give me strength when I'm afraid. You show me a better way, and my weaknesses made perfect in your unfailing love. And my weaknesses made perfect in your unfailing love.
And on that note, it's that time to kiss and say goodbye until the next episode. Ensure that you get to subscribe and get to share with your friends and family. And manze, yeah, let's get listening to the Sport Podcast. I have been STL Yamumo, and we've been having a conversation with Enigma and G all about heartbreaks, because the worst day about loving somebody is the day that you lose them.